So I'll work from all the way to one side back to me. And Mark Carmen, I will start with you on what your list of highest priority of roster needs for the Chicago Bears this season.
You're letting me go ahead of rank and the mansion? Wow.
That's right. That's right.
This is a questionable driving decision, but I will take this opportunity.
Get you out of the way first. That was my thought.
Oh, good. There you go. So there you have it. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm going with center. I want. I look at that as the biggest need because I want whoever is going to be the partner of Caleb Williams to get here yesterday. And yes, I mean I suppose it's possible they bring back Coleman and draft a center, um, which I think you're going to have two new guards. But the guy that's going to be there to me is the number one need on this team, followed by the guards. So you don't have any. You're not re-signing Tevin. Nate Davis is off to Nate Davis land, and if you're going to bring back Matt Pryor, he's going to be a backup. So I don't think you can run too far away from guard, and you can flip those back and forth. But I put center first because I'm just dreaming up of a big-time center. Will take a lot of pressure off of Caleb and be able to do some of the formation work that he has struggled with so far. Number 3, I put edge because I went back and forth on this edge and 3-tech because I just gave an edge, if you will, to Jervon Dexter, hopefully taking the same step forward that he took in from year one to year two, doing the same thing year 2 to year 3. And I don't, the speculations that they're going to cut DeMarcus Walker. I'm not 100% certain in believing that because he was a fairly productive player. But who can you pair with Montez Sweat on the edge? So I put that third. That would be enormous for this Bears defense. I don't think anyone would argue that. And then let's just dream back up to the 3-tech, was where we started this experiment, all the way back to Larry Ogunjobi, and landed on Dexter, and it still screams out as a need. And I put running back 5th. Look, DeAndre Swift is fine, but that's all I'm going to give him. And Roschon Johnson is not that is not thunder and lightning right there. That is lightning and I don't know, puddle, whatever you want to call it, ain't good enough. Lightning and ain't good enough. That's how I'll say it. So you got to draft a running back, and hopefully a good one. If Ryan Poles could hit on that this year, it'd be huge for the offense. And then 5th, I put safety, or 6th rather, I put safety, because you can't. I can't see the Bears extending Jaquan Brisker in a year. That's way too big of a gamble for me. Even if he has a very healthy season, I'd be worried about the concussion situation. Kevin Byard, very solid year. I expect him to be here, even though it's a potential cut, but I don't think it will happen. But he's old. So I think at some point here, you're going to have to address the safety position. I wouldn't mind seeing them do that this year in the later rounds of the draft.
Solid list, solid list. You're getting compliments here in the chat from it. And I saw Gary and a few others were sharing what their list of their priority needs are for the Chicago Bears. So leave those in the chat as well. Appreciate you guys all kind of participating in this exercise. Adam Rank.
Yes, sir.
Rank the Bears' biggest needs for 2025.
Well, I believe that I led off with center as well, because I think that's the most important position of anything. And then I went guard, another guard, hell, one more guard before we stuck in. Like, this is one of the things that drives me crazy, is that we just can't sit there and be like, oh, we signed Andrew Davis, or we signed a player, and we're like, okay, we're done. Like, no. There needs to be a lot of work. And I don't want this to be a situation like the Angels got into a couple of years ago, where they drafted 20 pitchers and only one of them made it to the major leagues. But at the same time, this team needs a lot more depth and finding more prospects and finding more players, because when you look at the number of different combinations at the offensive line the Bears have played over the last number of years, part of that is because not everybody was very good, but there's injuries, and you got to be ready for injuries, and you got to understand, like, this is going to happen. And it's almost as important to have a solid rotation on that offensive line as it is on the defensive line. You need somebody, and I've had swing tackle in there as well, because like, we need somebody who can bounce through and like just anticipate the fact that this is not like playing Madden with the injuries off. We're going to have to go out there and make sure that we have a lot of dudes who are ready to go and ready to play when they're called upon to go out there and perform at a high level. And I think the offensive line is obviously is a big thing. I believe, if I remember correctly, did I have wide receiver 3 ahead of running back? I can't remember. But to me, like, they're very much, it's very close. I also, tight end 2 for me. Is yeah, I'm running back way down. I think we're okay running back wise. I think we can get one in the draft. Tight end 2, I think, is very important, and I think I would love to find a way to start working it. And of course, this comes down to what Ben Johnson's going to design for his offense, and Ben Johnson might figure that, like, you know what, I'm good. I don't need 2 tight ends. But if I think back to what Detroit was doing, I would like to see an extra, and tight ends can block too. So for me, if we could get a solid tight end 2, not to the point that we're drafting like Tyler Warren from Miami with the number 10 pick or something like that, but I think that, if we could find an affordable option at tight end, I feel like not only would that help us in the passing game, but it does help with blocking. So I think that's something that I would like to take a look at.
Well, there's a good follow on Bears Twitter. His name's Jonathan Wood, and he had a really good breakdown and kind of spreadsheet kind of listing here the 4 drafts. It'll be the 4th draft this year for Ryan Poles, and kind of where he's prioritized the positions. And you can see why interior offensive line and defensive end are such a need this year when you look at, the research and the graphs that he put out. Ryan Poles really hasn't looked at those options as much here in these last few drafts. And to Mark Carman saying running back's a priority to him, and you, Adam Rank, saying tight end is a priority. I think the nice thing about that is both those positions are loaded in this draft, and you can have an opportunity to upgrade at those positions and get some youth and some guys that can develop behind some dudes and kind of rebolster for the future. So something to consider. Adam Hoge, appreciate you jumping on here. I know that you just got a haircut. You're looking fresh. I know that you're still reeling from the loss last night, as am I. But I appreciate you joining nonetheless.
Wait, what loss? What did I miss?
USA versus Canada.
Yeah, you guys lost. Sorry.
You guys. What are you?
He does this
What are you
all
with
the time.
Carm on the Canadian bandwagon? What's going on here?
You guys not understand? I grew up like 30 miles outside of Paris.
No, I guess we did not understand this.
I guess I did not understand that.
No, we missed
how
that
did France
assignment.
do in the Four Nations tournament?
Why would I care about France? Paris, California is what I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
A hotbed of Canadian immigrants is what I meant.
He
Sorry.
does this with. He doesn't call it Fahrenheit either with the temperature.
It's not calling it Fahrenheit. It's not an opinion. There are 2 separate systems. There is Fahrenheit and there is Celsius. Hey, why don't we do like whatever? I don't want to get into it, but Celsius makes the most sense, like Gulf of Mexico does. But whatever. I'm not here for that. We're here to talk about the Bears' needs.
I actually agree with you on that point, but we have to make things much more complicated. We'll just talk to Nate Bargatze and his his whole rant on systems. All right, can I get to my list now at 12:47? I'd love to jump into this conversation. So I'm going to listen to the guy that the Bears just paid $13 million a year to as head coach. And what did he tell everybody? He said this league is about quarterback play, right? So on the opposite side of the quarterback, you have to rush the quarterback. And so number 1 on my list is edge rusher. The Bears have to upgrade their pass rush if they're going to be a serious defense in today's NFL. I like Montez Sweat. They got to get somebody else on that other side, whether it's somebody they sign in free agency, whether it's somebody they trade for, whether it's somebody they use a first-round draft pick. But there somewhere high capital or cap space needs to be used to upgrade the pass rush. So that's why I have edge rusher number 1. Number 2 on my list, okay? Again, about the quarterback. So now we got to protect the quarterback. I'm with you guys. Center, guard. You could probably make that interchangeable, the order there, but I lean towards center because I just think they need a stud long-term center who's going to be married to Caleb Williams. They're going to understand protections together. They're going to be looking at the same things at the line of scrimmage together through the eyes of the play caller, which is another thing Ben Johnson talked about. So that's why I put center as a higher priority as guard, but they need both obviously there. Now, I thought about at the number 1 spot, putting edge/3 technique, because I think if you find a good enough 3 technique, that could actually have the same type of impact in getting after the pass rusher. So I'm really okay if that's also ends up being, the number 1 thing they go out and upgrade. But I also think they have they have better options right now in the middle than they actually do as the edge 2 right now. So that's why I put edge number 1. Either way, I think I like Jerron Dexter. I don't think he's a bad player. I just think you can do so much better with somebody who's quicker off the ball, who can really penetrate those gaps and really collapse a pocket faster from the inside. So that's where I go with 3 technique. Next on my list is running back. I do not like the Bears running back room. I think that what a weird thing they did last year. It actually seemed relatively deep in August. And then by the time you got to November, after they had traded Khalil Herbert and like go Velus Jones and all that, all of a sudden it was like, okay, they have this guy who dances a lot and can be a home run hitter, but he really leaves too many yards out there for me, DeAndre Swift. So I like him. I'm okay if he's still on the roster, but I think that they really need a decisive one-cut runner in the backfield that can really upgrade the running back room. So I have that number 5. And then number 6 on my list, I just think this has been sort of ignored for way too long, especially for a franchise that literally just put somebody in the Hall of Fame for being a returner. And we can keep getting by with these guys that they're sort of okay returners. They sort of okay help the field position. But the Bears, especially with the new kickoff rule, need to go out and get an electric elite returner in the kick return and punt return game. No franchise, no fan base should know the benefits of that more than Chicago Bears fans and what it could do to field position, what it could do to score more touchdowns in the third phase of the game. And so I just think that it's a spot that's been ignored for way too long, where they're just kind of plugging in DeAndre Carter's and Taylor from 2 years ago. No, go out and get somebody electric at that spot, and it can really help all 3 phases of the game. So I go with returner number 6.
No surprise, you're going to finish with special teams. Last year, you called your shot with Torrey Taylor, and you haven't. I don't believe we've released your first edition of your mock draft yet, correct?
It's coming out Monday. It's done. It's in the can. And it'll be out Monday morning right here on YouTube. There'll also be a written version too for our diehards.
Awesome. And I think because I get privy to inside information at CHGO Bears, I think there might be somebody on that mock draft that might fill that final need that you talk about with kick returner and punt returner. So stay tuned for that. Great list by all. We'll finish with mine here. Mine's always extensive, just like Ranks. It's a little longer, and I'll roll through it. I'm kind of with you guys that have center as the top spot over guard, regardless of if you have it 1, 2, or 3. I think we're all kind of in alignment that center is the bigger need than guard, even though the better player in Trey Smith is the guy that plays guard and that could potentially be available for the Chicago Bears. The Bears have to get the center position right, man. We have gone through this carousel too many times, and Sam Mustipher and Lucas Patrick last year with Coleman Shelton did not work out for a few different reasons, and you had 14 different centers we talked to at the NFL Combine last year, and 12 of them were thoroughly impressive. They're honestly, when I go to the Combine, my favorite position to talk to isn't just O-line. It's specifically the center position. They are so intelligent. They have so much knowledge about the game. When you talk to some of these guys, they don't always give you the detailed response. They're just trying to roll through it. And I've found center guys at the Combine to be some of the most fascinating people to talk to. So I center is number 1 for me. And if you want to bring in Drew Dahlman, I'm all for it. And I'm still going to double down like Rank suggests. Don't be done there. Draft someone to develop behind him and give him time to bake in the oven. So if you wouldn't mind, Steven, bringing my list back up, but I just feel so strongly about getting this center position right. Guard goes without saying. I would love to bring in, maybe a guard from Detroit. Obviously, we all want Trey Smith. Excited for the free agency to get rolling so we can have our answers there. And then for me, wide receiver 3 and tight end 2, to me, should not be underlooked spots for the Chicago Bears. Again, let's develop a tight end. This is a tight end heavy draft. Let's find someone later in the draft to develop behind Cole Kmet and have some contributions to the 2025 roster. And you cannot underlook wide receiver 3. Yes, they have Rome Odunze and DJ Moore. Keenan Allen looks to be on his way out. Of course, we'd love to fill that position with somebody that kind of stylistically compares to what Jameson Williams did for the Detroit Lions. But you could also find a guy that, is similar to the way Tim Patrick plays the position and helped a Ben Johnson offense. Regardless, you're thin if you're just going to rely predominantly on DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. Injuries happen every year, and if somebody were to go down, now you don't have anyone. They can phase that position out of a game plan if one of those guys is hurt by double teaming the one that's still there. So I just think there's an emphasis of finding someone in the draft. And so that's basically the highlights of my list. If you want to bring it up one more time, Steven, I'll give you a rundown of the back end of this thing. But running back and D tackle, I'm right there with you. And then safety. Safety to me is another spot I have listed at 5th. I don't know what they're going to do with Kevin Byard or Jaquan Brisker, but let's find a way to bring an impact safety into Hallis Hall and for this Chicago Bears team, whether it is in free agency or the draft, and maybe you do cut one of the 2 safeties you currently have. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. I'm excited to finally get some answers here sooner rather than later. But there it is, guys. To me, that's the list. Great job by all of you. I gave you some homework last night, and you aced the test. Mark?
Thanks, Greg. That's
thank you, Greg.
Yeah,
it means a lot.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, we're really proud to be able to make you feel like we did you right.
Hey, he's producing now. He's got a lot of responsibilities at CHGO, and it's a thing. And it'll be interesting to see how they do it. As I was sitting here and we were talking about it, and I think about drafting Rome Odunze last year, which I loved. I love Rome Odunze. I think it's great. We are going to draft Tyler Warren. We are going to draft a tight end at number 10. And I want everybody to be prepared for that. The more I think about it, I'm like, that just sounds like something he's going to do. We're not going to get, although this is where the pessimist comes into me, where you're like, we'll miss out on Trey Smith, but we'll get one rando guard, Mekhi Becton, and be like, okay, we're good. And like, that's all we're signing. And then in the draft, we're like, well, we're drafting a guard then. Yeah. Like, nope, we're getting the tight end, and then we'll get a running back. And then you're like, oh my God, what are we doing? Then we'll get a kicker. And you're like, there's so much going on. So I hope that there is people, particularly Ryan Poles, heeding the advice of addressing the lines.
Yeah, I'm sure he's watching right now and taking
He might
notes.
be.
He's taking notes to all of our lists and taking that into consideration. And we'll talk to him next week at the Combine about that.
We all silly like the mayor.